There was a sense of urgency when Rose entered Duke Elegy's chamber.
I have something of grave importance to discuss. I need a favour.
Feigning indifference, the Duke sat down in his leather chair and leaned back nonchalantly. Well, this is unexpected. I thought you were trying to avoid me for a while. A favour? For Rose, you say? Intriguing.
Please, kidnap Alan's son.
Have you run out of adults to torture?
His spirit clings to the princess and me. If he remains, all of our schemes are hopeless.
They sat in silence for a moment, as Duke Elegy processed what she was asking of him. What is to be done after the kidnapping? Should I dispose of the lad? Rose, panicked, shook her head vehemently.
No, not that.
Then what, my dear?
Place him in a home, far from Elisaria, a home yearning for a child.
Must I go to a distant country for this?
It's a complicated request, I know. I'll offer anything in return.
Rose, you haven't fulfilled your promise yet regarding the port.
I will definitely give it to you, but at present I lack the means.
I fear you might use me and discard me when I'm no longer of use.
But that would never happen.
Duke Elegy, with a devilish grin, closed in. Can you assure me in writing about the port?
The matter of returning Aldrich's gift had been left in Henry's hands, dissipating the looming threat of war with my former country. Yet, as these concerns faded, a fresh one emerged. Unlike its weighty predecessors, this worry didn't suffocate my heart. It was lighter, but demanded attention nonetheless. It revolved around Henry's birthday gift. Seeking advice was completely unfruitful. My mother suggested hiring a chef, but my father urged me to bake the cake myself. Cedrica was my only lady-in-waiting with a suggestion. The gift could be a sword or a spear. My brother suggested clothing, Matilda quality time, Lady Nadine gave me the name of the lingerie shop she frequented. But finally, Haxon suggested something quite intriguing.
A birthday gift for His Majesty Henry. There's a dance he performs when he's overjoyed.
I sighed, recollecting the dance Henry executed when my pregnancy was confirmed. Thank you, Haxon.
I did not come just to discuss birthday gifts, Your Majesty.
What other matters do you have?
I came regarding the carriage incident. All members of the Elisarian delegation were interrogated.
What was the outcome?
As Your Majesty surmised, the individual seated furthest from the ravaged side of the carriage was the culprit.
The revelation left me in a contemplative mood. The mystery lay not in what had transpired, but in the motives behind such an order. Who orchestrated it? And for what purpose? To steal King Aldrich's gifts? Or something else? Speculations swirled, entertaining the possibility of Rose's involvement. Her hostility lacked a clear motive, making her a plausible suspect. But Haxon's disclosure took me by surprise.
It was ordered by the Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak.
Really? The ones claiming to be Rose's parents? Recollections of the couple, once posing as virtuous, flashed through my mind. Though I had never engaged with them in a proper conversation, their indirect role in my brother's banishment left a lasting impression.
The culprit admitted to receiving a substantial sum of money to engineer the accident.
Why would they issue such an order? The motivation behind their actions intrigued me. Was it a grudge against me? Or did it target King Aldrich? Given Rose and Aldrich's strained relationship, was it an expression of anger towards him, considering they had adopted Rose as their daughter?
It was because of Miss Schuyler.
Schuyler? Why Schuyler? That evening, I hosted Schuyler in my chambers to discuss the matter with her. It was Viscount William and Viscountess Martha who ordered the carriage accident. They intended to harm you. Why would they do this? They must have done it because of something they misunderstood. The Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak think I am... Unlike me, Schuyler didn't seem surprised that the couple tried to hurt her. Maybe they didn't get along. However, there were so many gaps in Schuyler's words that it was hard to understand. What do they think, Schuyler? Don't misunderstand me, Your Majesty. I'm absolutely not. What was she talking about? Schuyler clasped her hands together, looked carefully into my eyes, and shyly confessed. The couple thinks that I am King Aldrich's second concubine. That's why they hate me so much. His concubine? I would never, Your Majesty. As if afraid that I might misunderstand, Schuyler jumped to her feet and waved her hands hurriedly. I became an assistant to the court sorcerer and I live in the Southern Palace. His Majesty Aldrich has given me many comforts, hence the misunderstanding. Aldrich was taking care of Schuyler? That was a surprise. But now that I think about it, it made sense for Schuyler to run his errand for Aldrich, if he was taking care of her. It would be much stranger if he called Schuyler from a magic academy to run an errand. Money aside, perhaps it was because of that misunderstanding that the person responsible for loosening the carriage wheel agreed to the couple's request. You don't feel uncomfortable living there? No, the court sorcerer and the other assistants are all good people. I don't have to see His Majesty Aldrich frequently, so I don't feel uncomfortable. Despite that remark, her expression was still troubled. Only Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak have bothered you? Rose also thinks that I am His Majesty Aldrich's concubine, but I deliberately did not try to clear up the misunderstanding. I wanted to make her angry. Schuyler blushed and lowered her head. She looked so endearing that I couldn't help but laugh. Did you use magic to make that woman angry? Schuyler looked at me with wide eyes at my question. Then she smiled and nodded quickly. You did well. Thank you. As soon as I thanked her, Schuyler blushed even more. By the way, Schuyler, are you sure you want to stay there? Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak still might scheme against you. If they were able to cause an accident in the delegation's carriage to hurt you, it could be worse later on. Yes, that's likely. I felt that Rose might really be the person behind this incident, but I chose not to mention it for now. Why don't you stay in the Celestial Isles? I had little hope that Schuyler would agree to stay in the Celestial Isles. Now that she had recovered her magic, she must want to learn many things. It would be hard for her to leave the position as the court sorcerer's assistant in Elysaria. She would most likely prefer to return to the magical academy than stay in the Celestial Isles. If I stay here now, I will just be an ordinary girl who has received your Majesty's grace. I will be of no use to the Queen. I will only receive your Majesty's help, as in the past. But if I learn a lot from the court sorcerer, I will become a useful person for the Queen. At that time, I will definitely stay by your Majesty's side. I nodded with a smile of understanding. However, perhaps because Schuyler felt bad about rejecting my suggestion, she clenched her fist. If your Majesty needs me, I will come immediately, even if I am in the middle of another matter. You don't have to worry about me either, I'll be fine. Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak acted that way because I am far away. In fact, they only speak ill of me when I am at the Southern Palace, sometimes behind my back and sometimes to my face. The delegation from Elisaria had arrived in one carriage. They now departed in 2 carriages. One carriage held the criminal responsible for loosening the wheel, a man who had been following orders from the Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak. The criminal would likely face punishment upon returning to Elisaria. Though he could have been dealt with in the Celestial Isles, such actions might escalate tensions between the 2 countries. I decided on a more discreet approach. I took the opportunity to pen a letter to King Aldrich, detailing the harassment Schuyler endured from Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak. Whether or not Aldrich would believe me remained uncertain. If the remorse he expressed in my presence was genuine, he might take heed. For now, I could not be concerned with the emotional whims of my ex-husband. Henry, the man who currently vowed his loyalty to me, had an upcoming celebration, and that was my principal concern. I sealed the letter and sent it off, having no way of knowing what would happen next. The eve of King Henry's birthday saw a shift in my gift strategy. I opted for an array of presents. Each item, carefully curated, would be concealed in a box, and Henry would randomly select one. I warned Henry that each gift bore the influence of our close confidence. The unveiling promised an air of suspense. Would he draw something unexpected, like the enticing lingerie Lady Nadine had suggested? Anticipation fueled my preparations, but Henry, that night, dropped a revelation.
Queen, there's something unusual I desire as a gift.
What is it? Do I have time to procure it?
Of course.
Share your request. You can ask for whatever you fancy. It's your birthday. Henry's gaze fixed on me, releasing his confession.
The jewel King Aldrich sent you. Can I possess it?
I had not foreseen this particular desire. Silence enveloped us as I grappled with perplexity. The fairy tear? Why that? In seeking affirmation, I confirmed there was no misunderstanding.
It is a jewel I've long coveted.
The revelation of Henry's profound interest in gems took me aback. Uncertain how to respond, I hesitated, contemplating the appropriateness of gifting a precious trinket from my past marriage to my current spouse. Very well, you may retain it. While haunted by memories of Aldrich's misguided intentions, I refrained from objection. However, Henry's motive remained an enigma. When Henry's birthday arrived, stirring a whirlwind of activity that started at dawn, carriages of varying sizes streamed into the royal palace, unleashing a flurry of conversation among the coachmen and servants. The festive ambience peaked as night fell, and the party commenced. However, not all faces wore the mask of merriment. Some bore a particularly stern expression, notably the son of old Duke Carriage and his daughter-in-law. The delegation from Whitmond and Count Perdue, Aldrich's secretary. Henry's decisions left lingering questions. Why invite the Carriage family, but exclude old Duke Carriage? Why extend an invitation to Whitmond despite strained relations? Questions swirled, accentuated by the presence of the fairy tear necklace, a jewel gifted by Aldrich. Henry, oblivious to the piercing gazes, radiated smiles. Yet beneath the facade, storm clouds brewed. Later, the special ambassador of the Whitmond delegation approached me. Ambassador Klein. I discreetly glanced at Henry. The delicacy of the Whitmond matter warranted his presence, but Henry was engaged with Grand Duke Lavilla, unaware of the ambassador's approach. With no choice, I handled the Whitmond ambassador on my own. I greeted him calmly, adorning my face with the Queen's smile. I haven't had a chance to express my gratitude properly. I appreciate your presence at His Majesty Henry's birthday celebration. Whitman's gifts were thoughtful and splendid.
It is an honor to know that our gifts please the royal family, Your Majesty.
How about the party? Are you enjoying yourself?
High society birthday parties in Richmond are similar to this, but cultural differences always surprise me. This hall, adorned with jewels, is exceptionally glamorous.
The extravagant decor reflected Henry's taste more than it did the Celestial Isles culture. Nevertheless, I nodded with a smile. As we exchanged pleasantries, Ambassador Klein broached the real issue.
Your Majesty, our two countries, once boasting a solid alliance, now face serious differences.
Yes, the sudden arrest of the trade team by Whitman was unexpected. Pointing out Whitman's initiation of the conflict, the ambassador's expression shifted.
Of course, it's our fault.
He then sighed deeply, confessing a crucial detail.
The King of Whitman personally sought reconciliation with His Majesty Henry. However, Henry's lack of response and continued troop movements near the border stoke fear in our nation.
Unaware of Henry's troop movements, I listened as the ambassador pleaded for mediation.
Whitman does not desire war, Your Majesty. We only hope the Celestial Isles, growing in power, does not desire it either.
I was puzzled by Henry's undisclosed actions, yet I maintained composure. If that's the case, why did you arrest the trade team?
Your Majesty, having never lived in a small country, you may not grasp our perspective. Any movement by a powerful country unsettles us, prompting such reactions.
I have served as queen of 2 major countries now. Please do not assume I do not imagine the positions of my allies and enemies alike.
Your Majesty, mediate between King Henry and Whitman. Your esteemed reputation assures us you can persuade King Henry. Please have mercy on the people of Whitman. War would bring countless casualties.
After his appeal, Ambassador Klein handed me an envelope.
This is a gift for you and your child. I apologize I was not able to attend the banquet to celebrate your pregnancy. I hope it is clear that we have nothing but good intentions of allyship. As the Celestial Isles surely prepares for its next steps in growing from kingdom to empire, Whitman wants to stand beside you and King Henry. I hope you will serve us well and allow for this to happen.
Inside the envelope were 2 drawings, one of a warship and another of a merchant ship, accompanied by documents indicating the ownership of these ships.
We've replicated the ships in the paintings, a gesture for the baby's delight.
His earnestness surprised me. Did the people of Whitman truly believe I held such sway over Henry? Thank you, Ambassador Klein.
Yes, please. Enjoy the party.
I considered his actions and his cleverness for having this conversation in such a public forum. If he had given it to me privately, I would have rejected it immediately, because it was a bribe. But since it was a gift given at an official event for an official reason, it was difficult to refuse. It would be impolite to do so in a place like this. Navigating the delicate situation, I pondered the implications. The ships, with no ports, clearly signaled that the gift was contingent on the restoration of diplomatic ties between the Celestial Isles and Whitman. Seizing the moment, I offered a diplomatic suggestion to the Whitman ambassador. Wait, Ambassador Klein, I know why you want us to sign a non-invasion pact, but that would be a unilateral pact that would tie us hand and foot.
The Celestial Isles is a powerful country that can maintain dignity even if it breaks the pact. But Whitmond is a small country that wouldn't dare to invade the Celestial Isles, even if a pact is not signed.
Of course, detaining the trade team wasn't an invasion. However, we appreciate our people as much as Whitman does. I proposed a reciprocal non-invasion pact to prevent attacks on people using the port. The ambassador, deep in thought, left to ponder the suggestion. Eager to share this with Henry, I searched for him in the midst of the celebration. However, commotion erupted from the garden on the veranda, drawing attention. A child, identified as the old Duke Carriage's grandson, nephew of the fallen former Queen Catherine, had fallen into the pond.
"He pushed my son!"
I peered my head onto the veranda to see who was being accused of such treatment of a child. Duke Carriage, Catherine's brother, was pointing a trembling finger at Duke Lavilla. I looked at Henry, who, of course, was on terrible terms with the old Duke and the entire Carriage family. Catherine's brother looked enraged.
"Apprehend him, King!"
I saw it too, Grand Duke Lavilla.
Grand Duke Lavilla began to run in the other direction, but could barely make it 5 steps before he was caught.
Take him to Moon Hall.
I, along with concerned onlookers, followed. While I was surprised that Henry sided with the old Duke, it did make a bit of sense that, although the personal relationship with him was marred, he was still a part of the Celestial Isles. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with anger and disbelief. Cedrica, Viscount Langdale, and Viscountess Julia expressed their dismay. How could he push a child into the pond? What a wicked man! Although she also detested the Carriage family, Cedrica put the honour of her country before all else, so she too was quite angry with Grand Duke Lavilla. Viscount Langdale seemed saddened by what he witnessed, and spoke somberly.
He caused another problem again.
Viscountess Julia, familiar with the Grand Duke Lavilla's tendencies, voiced her annoyance. He used to cause problems with his words, but this time he did it with his hands. As we approached the Moon Hall, guarded by knights, Sir Ivar, Matilda's brother, offered assistance.
"Would you like me to tell the King that your Majesty is here?"
It was strange. He was being quite kind to me, in a way he had not in the past. I looked around anxiously and eyed the door, behind which it sounded as though Grand Duke Lavilla was being tortured or punished. Sir Ivar looked at me with such a sad expression, as though I was witnessing something that I shouldn't be. I became overwhelmed with my position. Why was this knight urging me to leave? What was I missing in this situation?
Inside the Moon Hall, tensions rose as Grand Duke Lavilla pleaded his innocence.
Your Majesty, I didn't push him. It is the truth.
Grand Duke Lavilla, his face drained of colour, vehemently denied what he had been accused of, but King Henry remained unyielding.
Duke Carriage's accusation is true. I was there when you pushed his grandson.
Grand Duke Lavilla, on the verge of tears, attempted to explain.
I didn't push him. I just...
Henry interjected, casting judgment.
Hit him in the shoulder.
Yes, I just hit him in the shoulder, but I didn't expect the little boy to trip and fall into the pond.
But it happened. The little boy fell into the pond. So, Grand Duke Lavilla, in hitting him, you dared to harm the son of a high-status noble of the Celestial Isles, the grandson of another, and the nephew of the late former queen. Have you no decency?
If your majesty had not told me in the first place that he was old Duke Kerridge's grandson, I wouldn't have done it.
Are you suggesting I pointed out old Duke Kerridge's grandson for you to push him? You accuse me of pitting you against a child?
Oh, you said that old Duke Kerridge even abandoned his daughter to protect his grandson. Your majesty knows that I lose control easily.
No more excuses. It is embarrassing. Grand Duke Lavilla, pursing his lips, conceded, realizing the futility of his defense. King Henry, with a stern expression, contemplated the situation. I will make a formal complaint to King Aldrich about this matter. Have the Grand Duke locked in a room for distinguished guests. 2 underground knights, waiting inside the hall, approached and held the resisting Grand Duke by both arms. Unlike the knights who brought him in, these 2 showed no mercy as they forcefully dragged Grand Duke Lavilla out. Moments later, Haxon, who had watched the scene quietly, clicked his tongue and stepped forward. I had already thought this when he mocked Queen Bronwyn in front of your majesty, but Grand Duke Lavilla really is a person who acts before he thinks. Indeed. I didn't expect him to push the little boy directly into the pond. How is the boy doing?
He was quickly rescued by the maid, so his life is not in danger.
Have the palace doctors send him some medicine.
By the way, even if we make a formal complaint to Elasaria about what happened, won't King Aldrich ask us to send back the Grand Duke? His Majesty might say that he would be duly punished. I know they are not close, but the Grand Duke is still one of the few members of the royal family.
Henry, sighing, acknowledged the complexity of the situation.
Normally it would be like this. But now, isn't there a stir in Elasaria because it is not known whether the princess has the king's blood?
Indeed.
If it turns out that the princess is not the daughter of King Aldrich, then Grand Duke Lavilla and his son are next in the line of succession. But King Aldrich is young, and Duke Lavilla is much older, so it is actually his son who could become the successor. Won't King Aldrich want to get rid of Grand Duke Lavilla just in case?
Oh, I see.
Let King Aldrich know that what Grand Duke Lavilla did was heinous, and as he himself confessed, it was worse than expected. In order not to damage the image of the royal family of Elasaria, he will only be locked in a tower for about 5 years.
Yes, as you command. In which tower will the Grand Duke be locked up?
In the Red Tower.
The Red Tower was notorious for its dark history. The inside of the tower, though spotless, held an ominous reputation, as it was used to lock up high-status nobles. Haxon responded with a smile, to which Henry added a chilling smile as well.
One more thing.
Tell me.
Keep his mouth shut with a stone.
The sinister command echoed in the Moon Hall. Haxon acknowledged it only with a bow, leaving to carry out the king's dark directive.
Eventually, I decided to return to my chambers. I was tired anyway, and I knew Henry would share with me the details of what happened. After some hours, he rushed into the room, expressing his apologies.
I'm sorry, my queen. I was just told now that you were expecting me.
He rushed over to me with a hungry look in his eyes and began to bite my neck and ear, his warm breath making my whole body tingle. Stop.
I'm just so happy to see you.
I'm happy too, but you're a bird, not a dog. Henry laughed softly, acknowledging the playful comment. He then noticed the pile of gifts behind me.
My queen, are they all for me?
Just one for tonight. Don't want you getting greedy. He approached the pile, contemplating, and eventually picked a box from the bottom.
I'll take this one, my queen.
But as he reached for the ribbon, I rushed to stop his hand. You've chosen wisely, but trust me, we should save that one for the bedroom. He looked at me with shiny eyes, clearly yearning to open the box. Inside was the pure silk lingerie I had gotten at Lady Nadine's suggestion. But I had an important matter to discuss with him, and I knew if he got a glimpse of those clothes, he'd want me to put them on immediately, just to take them off. Henry, I have something important to tell you about Whitmond.
My queen, that's not a pleasant subject.
I must tell you while my memories still remain clear. I patted the back of Henry's hand, because he kept stroking my toes as if he wanted to have a little more fun. After he sat up straight, I told him about what happened in the hall. I told him about what Ambassador Klein asked me to do, and the advice I gave him. He listened to me with a serious expression.
How would my queen like this to be resolved?
I don't want war either.
My queen is a pacifist.
It would be foolish to promote peace unconditionally, but I think it is better to avoid war as much as possible, if there is no clear justification or rationale. It is not right to drag countless people to their deaths just for a small gain.
The Celestial Isles is powerful, my queen. It would not be a problem to forcibly take control of the port of Whitmond.
Since we declared ourselves an empire, other neighbouring countries view us with suspicion. Attacking Whitmond for immediate gains could strain our relations with them. There's a risk they might align with Elisaria in case of war. Henry nodded thoughtfully, absorbing the gravity of the situation.
Your perspective is wise, my queen. We must tread carefully on the diplomatic stage.
I expressed these concerns independently of the ship gifts.
Ships? You received 2 ships as gifts.
Yes, drawings of them at least. A merchant ship and a warship. A gesture from the special ambassador of Whitmond. Shall I share them with you?
Well, yes. Let's see them.
I retrieved the envelope containing the ship paintings and handed them to Henry. As he examined the depictions, his initial surprise turned into genuine interest.
Impressive. These ships could be valuable assets for the kingdom.
Indeed, they could enhance our maritime capabilities and strengthen our trade routes.
If managed wisely, these vessels might bolster our influence in the region.
But we must weigh the consequences. Accepting the gifts doesn't commit us to any specific course of action.
You're right, my queen. We should deliberate on this matter, considering both opportunities and risks. But first, I must reprimand you.
Why?
Do you intend to make me jealous? Do you wish it was your birthday?
My birthday? No.
But you boast of gifts you've been given on my birthday. And you refuse to let me open the gift you got me for mine.
A sly smile crept across his face as I picked up on the sensual tone in his voice. Despite all of our diplomatic conversation, he had not forgotten about the box I wouldn't let him open. I looked around to see that my ladies-in-waiting had retired, and I looked back at the box. Perhaps the political discussion could wait until the morning.
But I can't.
He put his hand against my chest and gently pushed until I was reclined on the couch we were sharing. He opened the box I had given him and pulled out the soft material of an emerald green lingerie set, and groaned just looking at it.
Please, put it on.
I can't put it on until you've taken what I'm wearing off. With that, he began tearing at the ribbons of my shirt. Slowly. He took several minutes to delicately undress me, until I lay bare before him. I sat up to take the emerald set and wear it for him, but he pushed me down. Don't you want me to wear your gift?
I don't want to see you in any form other than you are now.
Schuyler arrived at the royal palace, grappling with the decision of whether to immediately inform King Aldrich about the successful delivery of his gift, or return to the southern palace. As she unloaded her luggage, Schuyler pondered the implications of visiting Aldrich uninvited. She hesitated, worried about potential rumors and uncomfortable private conversations with the king.
Since it's a private matter, I'd better inform him on my own.
Her resolve led her to Aldrich's office, driven by the urgency of delivering the news. Aldrich, visibly anxious, awaited Schuyler's report. As she entered, he wasted no time. What happened to the gift? Did you give it to her?
Yes, I personally delivered it to Queen Bronwyn.
How was her reaction? Schuyler fumbled for words, her embarrassment palpable. Quite normal. Queen Bronwyn has always been indifferent, no matter the gift. Despite the bitterness in his voice, Aldrich's eyes betrayed a profound longing. Schuyler wiggled her toes and bowed.
Thank you for the task. I'll take my leave now.
Aldrich, sensing Schuyler's discomfort, opted not to press further. Once she departed, he retreated to his bedroom, gazing at Bronwyn's painting. His desolation echoed in the dimly lit room. Nonetheless, a sense of relief washed over him, knowing the gift had been delivered and a delayed promise fulfilled. About 2 hours later, a man from the Celestial Isles, dressed in opulent attire and accompanied by Elisarian delegation, entered the drawing room. Aldrich's demeanor shifted, sensing the gravity of the situation unfolding. The man handed him a letter from Bronwyn and another from Henry. Aldrich's stoic expression darkened. His keen eyes scanned the contents, and with each line, the furrow on his brow deepened. Did an envoy try to harm Schuyler on the orders of Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak? His mind raced, contemplating the disgrace this would bring to Elisaria. Schuyler, sent on a secret errand, was now entangled in a web of political schemes. The weight of political maneuvering pressed on him, threatening to tip the delicate balance between kingdoms. The letters, especially Henry's, dripped with mockery, adding insult to injury. Aldrich clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to shred the unpleasant letter. Bring Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak here immediately! Moments later, Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak, unaware of the reason for their summons, entered the room with a mixture of confusion and trepidation. Rose asked you to do it. Your Majesty, what do you mean? Rose asked you to harm Schuyler. The couple, now caught in the web of accusations, stammered in bewilderment.
We do not know what you're talking about, Your Majesty.
Aldrich, seated in an ornate armchair, leaned back, his expression seemingly calm, but with an underlying, unsettling intensity. King Henry discovered that you paid someone to cause an accident in the delegation carriage and reported it to me. So are you saying the King of the Celestial Isles lied to harm a couple of unknown fallen nobles? I repeat, the King of the Celestial Isles. That means that because of you two, who are not from Elisaria, the integrity of our country is being questioned by the Celestial Isles. As frustration bubbled within him, Aldrich rose from the armchair, his laughter carrying the weight of exasperation. I see that it is useless to ask you. I have no choice but to interrogate the culprit to find out. Your Majesty, wait!
It was us, Your Majesty, but we did not want to disgrace Elisaria or hurt anyone.
That is true. We only wanted to scare Miss Schuyler from returning to the royal palace.
You lie to the end. Bring in the man King Henry claims is the culprit. The subsequent entrance of an official, hands bound, marked the escalation of tensions. The couple, now witness to the unfolding drama, watched in horror as the accused official prepared to testify.
It's not true. We only told you to scare Miss Schuyler, not to destroy the carriage.
Chaos ensued in the room as the official, Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak engaged in desperate exchanges. Aldrich, pressing hard on his temples, issued a categorical command.
Shut up! All three of you!
Aldrich was simmering with frustration, grappling with the urgency of the situation. He couldn't delve into the matter immediately, given the impending return of the delegation from King Henry's birthday party. The paternity test loomed on the horizon, a crucial event that would either affirm or shatter the foundations of truth. Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak's presence at this critical juncture posed a threat to the integrity of the investigation. Once the delegation returns and the paternity test is conducted, we'll unravel this mystery. Until then, this official must be locked up in prison. As for Viscount and Viscountess Stormcloak, they shouldn't be here, not even if they are confined. Keep them under the watch of my knights to ensure that they do not escape before the paternity test, and lock them in a secret room away from the gaze of the people. Yes, Your Majesty. The lot of them left, and Aldrich sat in silence once again, except for the crackling of his fire. Sinking onto the couch, Aldrich grappled with a throbbing headache, as well as the tangled web of deception and betrayal that was unfolding before him. Oscar often caused trouble, but at least he didn't dishonor the country. Duke and Duchess Troby, models of discretion, remain untouched by public scrutiny. In the quiet chamber, Aldrich's thoughts echoed, and he struggled to manage his rising anger. He eventually rang the little bell over the table intensely, summoning Baron Lant. How could you be so useless? Baron Lant, bewildered, hastily knelt down on his knees. Aldrich's expression was cold and fierce.
What's wrong, Your Majesty?
I gave you the order to take care of Rose. Did you think you only had to make sure she was alive?
Your Majesty!
Aldrich's look became frightening. His pent-up anger exploded. She hasn't learned anything, but you do nothing about it. How can it be that you never know about the problems that arise unless I tell you? Baron Lant paled further, bowing his head deeply.
It's my fault, Your Majesty.
I should have given you the fate of Marquis Carlson.
When Rose arrived, she sought my advice and help. But over time, she grew closer to Duke Elegy and stopped seeking my support.
Aldrich sighed heavily and waved his hand.
Stand up.
Baron Lant stood up helplessly, clasped his hands, and waited for the king's command.
The slave certificate. Has it been found yet?
No.
Aldrich, burdened with guilt, blamed himself for hastily elevating Rose to the position of queen. Despite his concerns, Aldrich hadn't forgotten about the slave certificate. He knew Oscar had it last. Guards had confined Oscar at home, intending to prevent any chance of hiding it. Aldrich thought it would be an easy find. However, Duke Troby, Marquis Faring, and even the Western Palace yielded no certificate. Desperation led to secret searches in the rooms of distinguished guests at the Southern Palace, a risky endeavor fraught with potential problems. Just then, a knight's urgent voice reached Aldrich from the other side of the door.
Your Majesty! The slave certificate! The slave certificate!
The men looked at each other in shock.
Come in! Your Majesty! The slave certificate has been found!
Aldrich's expression turned cold.
Did someone make it public?
No!
Where? It was in Duke Elegy's room.
Aldrich and Baron Lant were shocked by the revelation.
Duke Elegy used to keep his room fully guarded. After the last visit from Queen Rose, he quickly left somewhere with the guards, allowing us to search every corner. The certificate was completely hidden inside the carpet.
In any case, I am glad to hear that the certificate has been found. Thank you for carrying out my orders.
Aldrich looked at Baron Lant, who not so subtly let Aldrich know his value. Aldrich nodded at him, and Baron Lant let out a sigh of relief. He was, evidently, not completely useless. Aldrich, clenching his jaw, sat back in the armchair, contemplating the implications. His anger towards Duke Elegy contrasted with the relief of finding the slave certificate. The knight handed Aldrich the certificate.
Here you go, Your Majesty.
Aldrich carefully examined the certificate, tearing it to pieces and burning it on the spot.
Wouldn't it have been better to keep it?
There are many ways to put pressure on Rose. The fact that she has concealed her past is enough. It's not necessary to bring up anything else. This certificate could harm the princess, so I'd rather not have it.
Baron Lant sighed deeply as Aldrich frowned, pushing his hair back.
There's also Duke Elegy to deal with.
Duke Elegy may have seduced the naive Rose. Doesn't everyone know that Duke Elegy is a playboy?
Where is he? He was not in his room. Duke Elegy must be sent back to his country as soon as he returns. Concealing the slave certificate was a very serious offense. The paternity test will be done as soon as the delegation that attended King Henry's birthday party returns.
Aldrich walked over to the crib in the attached room.
Beatrice, my daughter.
Aldrich rocked her in his arms.
You are my daughter, right? My daughter. Old Duke Kerridge was filled with anger as he watched his family falling apart at the seams.
It seemed that he was the only one avenging Catherine's untimely death, the only one who didn't blame her for her circumstances. If only he had made that known when she was alive. Currently, he was in a heated argument with his son, who was speaking ill of his deceased sister.
Catherine cannot hear us. She's already dead. Her death was her own fault. If she had gone quietly to Compshire from the start, we would all be well.
The old Duke's eyes burned with anger, clenching his teeth to suppress his emotions. His daughter-in-law, Duchess Kerridge, chimed in with her perspective.
Queen Bronwyn is pregnant. The royal family finally has a direct successor. Even those who were not favourably inclined toward her now bow to her.
Idiots! You're a couple of idiots!
Father, it's true. Grand Duke Lavilla has been taken to a tower. I saw it with my own eyes. King Henry is trying to protect us.
Idiot! Although Lavilla has no self-control, he is not crazy enough to cause serious trouble in a foreign place.
Father, you always think he has an ulterior motive. Do you hate King Henry that much?
The old Duke, convinced of Henry's malicious intent, maintained his stance.
King Henry has marked us as his next target, yet you support the person who ended your sister's life.
The family remained divided, unable to bridge the gap of understanding. The old Duke, curling his fingers into a fist, seethed with anger, feeling manipulated by King Henry. Aldrich, the brooding king, paced restlessly around his office. Count Perdue, his loyal attendant, delivered unsettling news.
Your Majesty, King Henry adorned himself with your cherished fairy tear at his birthday celebration.
What infernal nonsense is this? Are you certain of what you saw?
Yes, I examined it closely. It undeniably was the fairy tear.
Enraged, Aldrich contemplated this betrayal, his thoughts consumed by the Honourable Bronwyn.
Bronwyn must have gifted it to him. There's no other plausible explanation.
The revelation intensified Aldrich's disdain for King Henry.
Bloody Henry! I never thought Bronwyn would bestow such a gift upon her current husband.
Aldrich's shock was compounded by more disturbing news.
Your Majesty, there's more. Grand Duke Lavilla has caused yet another disturbance.
Another one? What foolishness has he spewed this time?
These were not mere words. This is much graver. He pushed old Duke Kerridge's grandson into a pond.
Aldrich's frown deepened, and his mind wrestled with the perplexity of this situation.
What?
The child was promptly rescued and is unharmed. Grand Duke Lavilla was confined in a tower by King Henry, who declared a 5-year imprisonment.
Is the accusation true?
There were many witnesses, and the Grand Duke himself confessed.
That's a shame for Elasaria, but we won't intervene. Let this be the end of Grand Duke Lavilla's reckless behavior.
Count Perdue, sharing the sentiment, was handed a letter from Aldrich.
Send this to King Henry.
The letter from Aldrich swiftly journeyed via carrier pigeon to King Henry's realm, the fate of Elasaria hanging in the balance. Henry, upon perusing the contents of Aldrich's letter, furrowed his brows, but responded with a bitter smile.
What does it say?
That I always covet what is his wife, his jewels, everything he owns.
That's absurd.
We have far more jewels than he does.
Haxon, still unaware of the fairy tier, questioned the comparison.
King Aldrich sent my wife a jewel as a gift. I wore it as a necklace at my birthday party to show it off to everyone. I guess he sent this letter because someone informed him.
Haxon changed the topic, hoping to improve Henry's mood.
Your child with the Queen will be very smart and brave. In fact, I'm sure of it, since your child already has 2 ships before birth.
Henry chuckled, acknowledging the humor in Haxon's words.
It's true. I've never received a ship as a gift.
You see?
I should read war stories to my baby as part of prenatal education. This is how a brave child is born.
That will have to wait, unfortunately. Princess Charlotte of Whitmond is here to meet with you. We must save the reading for another day.
After Bronwyn informed Henry about the conversation she had with Ambassador Klein and expressed her opinion against starting a war, Henry decided to call the ambassador to his office. Hours passed as they discussed the issues. Henry had proposed a non-invasion pact aiming for reconciliation, and their princess, Charlotte, arrived from Whitmond bearing the answer. Henry, indifferent, casually responded,
Of course she will agree. What other choice does Whitmond have?
Even so, the King of Whitmond sent the princess. Since we've chosen to maintain good relations, we must be polite.
Very well, my cousin. Let us go to the Hall of Stars.
When they reached the hall, Whitman's delegation were gathered. When Henry appeared, he concealed his displeasure, welcoming them warmly.
Welcome. I see the King of Whitmond sent the princess, so I imagine the response to my proposal is positive.
Charlotte, although having waited for Henry, smiled and expressed gratitude, and immediately ceased tapping her foot impatiently.
Thank you for your leniency. Whitman's special goods were added to the trade team's commercial products, and they've already arrived in Rhett.
The announcement of the merchant ship having reached Rhett surprised the nobles.
The exceptional Queen Bronwyn has been a godsend for the Celestial Isles.
The praise for Bronwyn quickly gathered agreement.
This is wonderful news. She has achieved great results in less than a year. I look forward to the future. If all goes well, the Celestial Isles could become a trade power.
Henry snorted, amused by the scene, but the mood shifted when Princess Charlotte dropped a bombshell.
To seal the reconciliation, my father wants to celebrate a royal marriage. That's why he sent me as a member of the delegation.
All eyes turned to King Henry. Realizing the potential complications a royal marriage with Whitmond could bring.
Sir Ivar had come to me to let me know that Princess Charlotte, by decree from the King of Whitmond, had arrived with a hidden agenda to consummate a royal union. Learning of the purpose of Whitmond's delegation, I confined myself to my room, yearning for a favourable outcome. Who did she want to marry? Given my experience, I was sure it was Henry. My heart quickened. I had foreseen Henry taking a concubine, but the reality weighed heavily upon my chest.
Henry requests your presence in the Hall of Stars.
Must I?
I'm afraid so.
Cedrica, ever unaware of when it was appropriate to intervene, leaned in. His Majesty Henry is not one to indulge in such matters, Queen Bronwyn. There's no need for concern. He'll decline. Yet, Cedrica's reassurance couldn't drown out the doubts in my mind. I rose from the couch, feigning composure. I suppose I must assess the situation.
Allow me to guide you.
Sir Ivar led me to the delegation's location, the Hall of Stars, the door slightly ajar. My attempt at discretion faltered, drawing the attention of the entire assembly. A woman with striking features approached me. "I am Princess Charlotte of Whitmond, Your Majesty. I've heard of the Queen's pivotal role in reconciling our two nations." Forced smiles and nods followed, yet beneath the surface, a profound pain lingered. I had given so much of myself to Henry, emotionally and physically. I knew what was coming next. Her proposal for a royal marriage intensified my internal struggle. If Rose was like a taut bowstring, Princess Charlotte was an arrow that pierced my heart suddenly. Henry's yearning for a port and Princess Charlotte's ability to grant it without war heightened the turmoil. I averted my gaze from Henry, greeted the princess, and summoned a forced smile. "Yes, welcome, Prince Charlotte." I spoke to King Henry about a royal marriage. "Since Your Majesty's approval is vital, I intended to discuss it privately later, but as you're here, we can address it now." Trembling hands and a constricted heart followed, as I braced myself for the impending, painful discussion. I didn't seek suffering, preparing myself mentally for this moment. Yet how can one not suffer when the pain is so profound? "I would like to marry your brother, Sir Oscar." "What?